Welcome, action movie aficionados. It's Jack, and we're about to embark on an epic journey through Wrath of Man, released in 2021. Hold on to your seats because this video contains explosive spoilers. Get ready, and let's jump into the heart-pounding action. The movie begins with two security guards named Terry and Patrick, who are employed by a company called Foro. They are going about their usual business when a cement truck unexpectedly arrives, and a group of criminals emerges, launching an attack. These criminals compel Terry and Patrick to exit their post while they seize bags of money from the truck, creating chaos with the sound of gunfire. Fast forward 3 months, Terry, who holds a position of authority, brings up the previous tumultuous truck incident where 2 guards and an ordinary person had been harmed. Terry informs Patrick that he will be taking on the role of a new guard, but before that, he needs to pass some firearm tests. Patrick receives training from an individual named Bullet, and it's fair to say he barely meets the necessary requirements. Nonetheless, they decide to nickname him H. Subsequently, H encounters other guards with peculiar monikers like Hollow Bob and Boy Sweat Dave. They embark on their inaugural money delivery with H, and to everyone's surprise, everything proceeds smoothly. However, the following day, while H and Dave are on duty, they receive an unexpected visit from armed robbers communicating through walkie-talkies. These robbers force them to halt and take Bullet hostage. H is instructed to toss money bags into a pickup truck, but he deliberately drops one when a criminal emerges. H then transforms into an action hero, displaying remarkable accuracy as he neutralizes all the criminals and pursues their leader, creating a scene reminiscent of a wild action movie. He enters the nearby building and successfully corners the leader, raises his gun, and shoots him. Terry disapproves of H's daring actions and relegates him to desk duty for a period. In contrast, the CEO Blake Halls admires H's actions and considers promoting him. Later, H is shown a video of the prior robbery in an attempt to identify the criminals involved. H recognizes one individual but conceals his recognition, stating that he doesn't know any of them. Unbeknownst to H, 2 agents were surveilling him, acting under the direction of a person named King. They believe that H might lead them to the gang responsible for the initial robbery. The following day, H is warmly welcomed by his fellow guards for his heroic actions, which he remains modest about, and he returns to his regular duties. Everything appears ordinary until 3 months later when an unusual incident occurs. H and Bullet are making a delivery when a gang on motorcycles, armed with firearms, obstructs their path. They force Bullet out of the vehicle, but when H exits and reveals his face, the assailants appear to recognize him and hastily withdraw. Back at Foro headquarters, Terry is perplexed, wondering why the criminals fled upon seeing H's face. In contrast, Blake assures H that he is on the path to owning his own franchise. Soon, Bullet converses with Dave and suspects that H has more to him than meets the eye, describing him as a dark spirit. Later that night, H pays a visit to a fellow guard named Dana. Upon discovering a stash of stolen money in her residence, H questions her. He fires a few shots to intimidate her, prompting her to admit her involvement in a past money theft. She confesses to having filched a chunk of that cash from a job she pulled off just a few months back. H presents her with photographs of her parents and cautions her against lying, emphasizing the potential consequences. We go back 5 months earlier when H is with his son, Doggy, who is visiting the States while on holiday. He gets a call from his former criminal employer, Mike. Mike asks H for help with one last job but insists he need not be directly involved. H drives with Doggy near the docks where the robbery is set to take place, only telling Mike which way the truck is heading. As H is getting food for himself and Doggy, the cement truck guys show up to pull off the robbery. One of the gunmen orders Doggy out of the van, and H sees what is happening and runs to his son. However, a gunman with a scar near his eye shoots and kills Doggy before H can save him. The gunman also shoots H repeatedly, and H falls into a coma for nearly 3 weeks before recovering and being told that Doggy is dead. He meets with his ex-wife, Jane, who blames H for the death of their son. He later meets with Mike and his cohorts, who all feel some responsibility for what happened to Doggy and agree to help H look for the men responsible. The group interrogates the criminal underground world, going from one team to the next until a man gives up the name of some criminal brothers. This leads them to a building where the brothers are involved in every possible horrific crime. With no information forthcoming, H kills the brothers. After H starts working at Foro, he takes note of the guards working there, which is why he asks his assistant, Kirsty, to get him some files. These files contain background checks on the guards along with an autopsy report on Doggy's death. We meet the crew responsible for the first robbery, a team of ex-veterans from Afghanistan being treated poorly in America. They are led by a man named Jackson, and in his employment are Carlos, Sam, Tom, Brad, and lastly, Jan, the man who killed Dogie and shot H. They are seen planning the truck robbery during a party for Jackson. The crew goes off on the robbery, noticing H and Dogie pulling in during the robbery. Sam orders Dogie out of the van to get on the floor, and Jan goes off the rails and shoots the 2 guards dead when he notices Dogie having seen his face. He shoots Dogie dead before shooting H. Following the aftermath of that heist, the crew plans their next and final robbery, with a score of over $150 million to be split between them and their man on the inside, who is revealed to be Bullet. Jackson and Tom spend weeks meticulously planning their operation. Their primary concern is Jan's unpredictable behavior, but Jackson remains confident that Jan will stay on track. The group arrives at Foro, where Bullet confesses to H that he is the person responsible for selecting the target trucks. The Bullet then disables the security cameras. They go into an empty building where Jackson's gang is already waiting. Everyone in Jackson's gang is wearing thick bulletproof suits. They tie up H's hands and then get into the truck to start the robbery. All the people inside the building quickly follow orders by putting their hands and faces on the ground, but one guard panics and pushes the emergency button, causing chaos. Gunfire breaks out, and they manage to blow open the door to the money stash. They then start killing every person they see, and it becomes a horrifying scene as half of the place turns into a violent battleground. One individual sustained an injury after deactivating the emergency alarm, and they allowed their final team member to join them with a pickup truck to load the cash. Meanwhile, a call to SWAT has been made, and they're racing to the scene just 8 minutes away. At the same time, the police have successfully blocked the entrance, and SWAT is urgently speeding toward the location. H acted heroically, disarming an assailant and causing him to surrender. He then concealed himself in a bulletproof suit and approached one of the individuals loading cash. After verifying the person's identity, he eliminated the threat. The remainder of Jackson's crew was immobilized by Dana and another guard. Bullet revealed himself when he came to Dana's aid but took a lethal turn when handed a firearm, eliminating both of them in a corridor. Dave attempted to stand but was incapacitated. Terry is compelled to step out, and in a sudden twist, H emerges, plunging into an intense one-on-one showdown. In the heat of battle, H inflicts an injury upon himself but ultimately prevails, eliminating the assailant. Meanwhile, Jackson's crew retrieves the wounded man and makes a hasty retreat to their vehicle, with H unleashing a barrage of automatic gunfire in pursuit. As tension escalates, Dave regains his footing, expertly taking down the injured man just as H detects an ominous click from behind him. Bullet shot him and made a call to Dave, claiming that the assailants had departed. As Dave exposed himself, Bullet unleashed a barrage of gunfire before speeding away. H identified Jane as Dogie's assailant during a standoff. They plowed through 2 police cars as they made their escape. SWAT and helicopters pursued them. Though they sustained some damage, they found refuge in a building, sealing the entrance. Their plan was to exit through a concealed tunnel unknown to the public. Jackson suffered an injury when H managed to strike him on the neck when they abandoned the vehicle. Jan delivered the final blow to Jackson. Jan and Bullet used an elevator, went underground, and hopped on quad bikes. They covered a distance of 3 miles before transferring the money to a car, making a clean getaway. After Bullet realizes that Jan has betrayed him, he attempts to eliminate Jan. However, Jan acts faster and fatally injures Bullet. Jan then successfully escapes with all the stolen loot, taking advantage of the extensive network of tunnels that make it impossible for the police to cover them all in time. Jan's exit is like saying "see you later, alligator." Sometime later, Jan is relaxing in his apartment, surrounded by a mountain of cash. Suddenly, his bag starts ringing, and it's H calling. H unexpectedly appears behind Jan, handing him Dogie's autopsy report. Jan is bewildered and examines the report, which details multiple gunshot wounds in Dogie's liver, lung, spleen, and heart. Jan gazes at a photo of Dogie and recalls H on the ground, glaring at him. H begins by targeting Jan's liver with a gunshot and then moves on to the lungs. Jan cries out in pain as H progresses to the spleen and concludes with a shot to the heart. H leaves the apartment where Agent King awaits, confirming the successful completion of the mission and the possibility of recovering the stolen money. He gets into a car with another individual and drives away.